what's up, you guys? My name is Wolf, and finally, welcome back to LEGO Arts. I have missed this series for quite some time. It's been a long time since I've been back with this series, and one of the reasons is because I was working on some other projects, and also I somewhat hit a little bit of a creator's block with each of the figures. So I decided to take a short break, and also I was waiting for a specific component for this particular showcase. Okay, so I decided I'm gonna wait, get that piece, finally finish it up, and then do the showcase for you guys. So in the last episode, we did a second wave of Devil May Cry with the regular devil triggers, and those came out pretty good. So for this episode, I decided to go back to one of my old projects. So here we are back with Sword Art Online. This is an old showcase that I have not touched in a very long time. And as you can see, we have the Black Swordsman, Kirito, in a brand new updated jacket, with his brand new swords. So one of the reasons that I wanted to go back to this figure was because for starters, it was so long that I haven't touched on this particular topic, so I kind of wanted to go back to it. And two, I kept looking back at that old figure and for starters, it was very outdated, and also it's just that is not proper. I can really do something. So I decided to take that figure, give it a complete new makeover, and give it a brand new look. And this one looks so much better. It looks so much better now. And now I really love how the detailing came out. And we're gonna get further on into this. So as you guys know, the video, we're gonna take this figure, do a review, and explain my process, why I went with this route, and then go from there. So without further ado, let's get the pedestal out and get the showcase on the road. Getting a closer look at this figure, we can see a fully updated version of the Black Swordsman. So if we temporarily remove the swords, okay, you can remove that one. Okay, there we go. Temporarily take off the swords. Let's get a closer look at this figure. And when doing a little compare and contrast to the previous one, you can see a lot of difference with this one. So this is actually the same figure that I made before. And before I just got rid of the coat, painted up the arms and everything, and did a lot of creative stuff with this. So as we can see, with the arms, they're somewhat the same, but I went back and lightly cleaned them up a little bit here and there. On the back, we actually have some 3D elements. So what I did was I took some cardstock paper, cut out the straps and glue them on, around the coat. I did have to cut them out in separate components because I wasn't sure if it was able to wrap all the way around this figure. Here, the clay is basically the same, but I reinforced it with some new glue. I repainted on the hands because the paint was slightly chipping off of that. The coat color has definitely gone through some changes as well. It's no longer just pointy. I actually went and did a little detailing to them, and you can see that the paint goes all the way around there. Looking now more at the front of the figure, here you can see he's got his belt on his belt buckle there. The metal parts on his boots, and the biggest change I think is the front of the jacket. You can actually see that it's still got that star piece on the front, but now is on some straps instead of just a giant piece and glued to the front. That was one of the changes that I definitely wanted to make because back then it was okay, but looking back at it now, I realized I desperately needed to change that. So I carved out a new piece, flattened it out, carefully glued it onto the strap, and made it that you could see the shadow underneath. It's not completely glued to the torso, but it is holding in place so it doesn't roam, and so it doesn't move around. Unfortunately, due to the side pieces, I can't fully put the arms all the way down here and there, but that is okay. And it's okay since a majority of the time he has in this position holding the sword, so I kept them in that. Same thing with the face and the hairpiece. The hairpiece, I felt that it still holds up to Kirito's hairstyle, so I decided to keep that. And same thing with the facial expression. I just kept with that. But with the torso, I also painted that up a little bit. So again, give it a fresh new coat and everything. And same thing with the boots. You can see that the metal's less it looks much more like a solid color than a bit faded out. So it's much better. It was a bit tedious of getting all this cardstock paper to wrap around around this figure, especially to line it up and make sure it's accurate. You're right. And then I went back and back with a push pin, and lightly did the detailing on for that gray outline all around the figure. For the cardstock, it was easy, but it was much harder for the fabric. But after some time, after a little trial and error, I managed to get it and to not exactly correct, but close enough to where and to how it's supposed to look. So how he's supposed to look like on the show. The pocket is supposed to be a bit bigger, but unfortunately, like always with some of these customs, I ran out of room, so I couldn't put it on anymore. But I did the best I could, and this is definitely a huge improvement compared to the last one. Now let's pull back out his swords, and first we begin looking at his Night Sky sword from Achillization. I apologize if I said that wrong. But from that and War of the Underworld, and the latest seasons with it. You can see that like some little bit of like parts of it are a bit glossy. Seeing come here into like one side, and that was because I went back with some like clear nail polish to sort of like give it like and to like make sure that like the paint was still on, and somewhat give it like a more shiny appearance. You can see a little detailing on the sword handle, same thing on the back, and then like on the bottom piece, you can see. And say like for the guard, in regards this bottom part here, I chose to go ahead with this sword because I still have Elucidator and Dark Repulsor. While those swords are still good, again they're outdated, and I wanted to try something brand new for them, and brand new for this character. So I decided to go ahead with his current swords. Well, it looks like I'll have to go back with some, with clear nail polish to fill in some gaps. I'd say this came out pretty good. Pretty good. It was a bit tricky to make, a bit tricky to like sculpt out, especially since there's not really much of a base inside the swords. But I think this came out as a pretty cool try and a cool remake. Now, getting up the other sword, we got the Blue Rose sword. Now, this one has a much stronger guard inside of it, but you can still see like a little flimsy in some pieces here and there. This one has a bit more detailing. Like you could see, like the dark blue going around the outlines of the sword, and same thing with the detailing. I decided to do a the push point pin, and carefully did all that detailing. Took quite some time, but I managed to get it. You can see that like the handle is painted as well. Like what I made Sin Devil Virgil, I went with a translucent blue rod piece. You could see like the paint slightly chipped off there, but that was expected. And you could see but you could see like more detailing like on the handle, on the bottom part of the sword, and then this rose piece. This was the one component that I needed to wait for because I know for a fact that I could not sculpt something like that. Unfortunately, when looking at this, I do admit the rose is slightly big. But when I wanted to get this at the craft store, this was the only small rose that they had. Like out of everything else out of all the other roses, this was the only one small enough that could fit on the sword without looking gigantic, even bigger than before. A little more detailing on the back. And I wanted to do like those blue outlines on the swords to sort of like give it that somewhat like crystal-like effect that the sword does have, in the anime. Okay, we go ahead and put that back on. So again, I do admit that the sword is big and that the rose is big, but it does still match up with like the character in general. I might go back and get like a smaller rose to try and fix that. But in general, that is doing pretty good. Plus, I really like that blue coloring, and hopefully I can be able to replicate it in the future. But overall, that's the general design of the minifigure. And so again, looking back at the first figure, I'm still proud of Elucidator and Dark Repulsor because it was like one of my first attempts at sculpting my own weapons. So I'm still proud of those swords. But that coat back then, it was not bad for the first try. But now that my skills, and now that I've figured out like some new skills and everything, have a bit more experience at like painting like fabrics and doing a little sculpting with three-dimensional objects, I'd say that this is a much better improvement from the last one, and I'm really proud of like how this came out in the end. And overall, that's gonna do it for this episode of LEGO Arts. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's not as huge as I generally do showcases, but this one was sort of like a small one that I wanted to do, and plus I wanted to go back and fix it. And I'm definitely much more satisfied with how this looks. This looks much more accurate to the character. The swords, while they could be a little thinner, and they did come out pretty good. And one of these days I will update that blue rose on the sword. But until then, that's gonna be like the general design of it. So with the other sort of online minifigures, I'm planning on like going back to them and giving them updates as well. But I need to completely redo Asuna and Lifa because their decals are falling apart and their fabric pieces, they've fallen off too, and some of the clay elements have broken off. So they're pretty outdated at this point in time, so I need to go back and fix those. With Xenon, her outfit is still intact, like the general figure is still intact, but again, it's somewhat outdated, and I feel like that like I could do something brand new with her. So I'm gonna give her like a complete new look. I'm not sure when that will come in, but I'm gonna be working on that as well. And I'm aiming to get back into like some other old projects. Like one of the projects I'm thinking about getting back into is like Five Nights at Freddy's. It's been a long time since I've done that, and that's it. So I'm thinking about getting back to that. I know I said I was supposed to do Umbrella Academy 2, but I have no idea when that is supposed to be done. Ruby Volume 8, and a few other projects, but I might need to wait until after Christmas because I'm beginning to run low on clay, because I've been doing like some arts and crafts stuff for like Christmas shopping. So when I get some updates on materials and stuff, I'll be sure to get back to work. And overall, that is gonna do it. So if you want to check out the first Kirito minifigure or some of my other showcases, you can check them all out in my LEGO Arts playlist. You can also check out some of my Let's Plays, and even the previous 2 live streams that I've done recently. And yeah, overall we're gonna call it good. Right. Yeah, I'm sorry if I'm stumbling over. It's been a while since I've done this, but anyways, we're gonna call it good. So if you guys would like to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. It really helps us work on Let's Plays, LEGO projects. I mean, they have so fun. So anywho, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, hit that like button, comment below what you think, share your friends, subscribe to the video, follow me on Twitch. And here's how to the road. Thank you guys, so we'll see you next time. What do you guys, Moon Rises?